Hi, I'm Diane Wayne, owner and baker at Sweet Bottoms Coffee Shop in Fenelon Falls. We specialize in using heritage recipes for our food preparation, particularly in the baking, most of which are family heritage recipes. I grew up in the Mennonite community, and everybody that was a girl learned to cook, and you learned to cook at everybody's kitchen. Whenever there was a family gathering, all the women got together and worked in the kitchen, and every single person had a task. So when you're little, you would help peel potatoes. When you were bigger, you had to help make the bread, make the pie dough. I learned how to make pastry from my mother. Her mother also made good pastry, but she baked her butter tarts in a wood stove, which was very different than an electric stove. The taste of things is just totally different. We made butter tarts with homemade butter that I learned to make from my great aunt. And the butter tarts were actually made with currants and brown sugar and butter. We never used corn syrup. Currants were used instead of raisins because they were smaller, but also at the time you had to seed your raisins and it was too much work for something as simple as a butter tart, so they used currants instead. The butter tart recipes that we use, there is one that's a maple syrup butter tart, and the other one is just called a butter tart, and it is made with the currants and brown sugar. It came from a cookbook that I got from my grandmother, and it's Five Roses cookbook. The cookbook was printed in 1913, and the recipe came from that cookbook. And we make them extremely small because they're very rich. We don't use corn syrup in our butter tarts. They're made with real butter for sure. Because they're from these old cookbooks, we use the ingredients that are authentic to the cookbooks. And the pie dough, I use shortening rather than lard because we at Sweet Bottoms focus on a lot of vegetarian foods. This is the recipes right here. So that's the butter tart and that's the maple syrup tart. And my grandmother got this cookbook before she was married, and it was printed in 1913, so it's well over 100 years old. The most common reaction that we get when people walk into Sweet Bottoms is that the smell is fantastic. We've always got something really good on the stove or in the oven. They love the hominess, they love the intimacy of the space, but they also love the fact that it's all homemade food.